Hi, how are you? This is John from Istanbul, Merhabalar. Today I want to talk about some short-term options Turkey has to stabilize the lira, especially against the US dollar. In the last few years, Turkey has used its reserves plus state banks to stabilize the lira, but nowadays this isn't working for many different reasons. Okay, so these are some ways you can stabilize the Turkish lira in the short term. The first one is interest rate increase. Interest rate increase would help immediately. However, nowadays with low growth and a government that wants cheap money and cheap credit, this isn't going to probably work. Number two, IMF. This would definitely help in the short term, especially a loan of maybe 5 or 10 billion if you can get 10 billion. This would definitely help in the short term. But again, the government doesn't want a loan from the IMF because there's many strings attached. Plus, it's going to bring auditors to the country, and the government doesn't want that for transparency and corruption reasons. The third way is through swaps with the Fed. This would be a great way to get dollar funding right away. But with the Fed is reluctant to open a line with Turkey for many different reasons. I think a lot of it has to do with politics, such as the S-400 deal, Syria, Halk Bank, and then maybe even the independence of the central bank in Turkey. Another way is through capital controls. So in the short term, capital controls can work. However, in the long term, that's another question. So in the last year or so, Turkey has implemented some soft capital control measures, especially to do with the taxes and spreads and also time for transactions. The other day, it cut off 3 banks offshore, which is kind of a form of capital control, and it kind of worked a little bit. But long term, I don't think it's a very good viable option. The fifth one I put on here is tourism. Now, tourism right now is probably not going to work because of coronavirus. However, if there's a vaccine found tomorrow, I believe the tourists will come back within a month with a lot of hard currency, and this will definitely help out the reserves. And this will help stabilize the lira. But there's also another problem. There is an oil war in the Middle East, and the oil prices are very low. So many high spenders, especially Arabs, probably won't come this year. Okay, so number 6 is China. If Turkey signs a new swap agreement with China, this could help stabilize the lira in the short term. Last year, Turkey did use a swap line and got almost $1 billion. Also, China invested heavily in its Belt and Road Initiative in Turkey. I don't think Turkey wants too much more investment from China because there's a lot of strings attached. Number 7, Qatar. Another swap line with Qatar would definitely help stabilize the currency. Last year, Turkey did sign a huge swap line with Qatar, and it definitely helped stabilize the currency last year. Also, I think some investing through loans or other investments from Qatar will definitely help Turkey out a lot. However, Qatar nowadays is dealing with its own problems like coronavirus, it's dealing with low gas prices, and it's also heavily invested in Turkey's venture in Libya. The next one, foreign investment, would be a great option for Turkey, but nowadays Turkey, has scared away many of these investors. But I think if Turkey can issue more sovereign bonds, foreigners will keep investing in these bonds at good rates. So if it's a good rate, Turkey can easily prop up its currency with these sovereign bonds. The other way is through the stock market. Stock market's already made a V-shaped recovery. That's pretty much out, and foreigners investing in other things probably won't happen in the short term. The next one, Turkish elites and the super wealthy. Now, I said this because, if Turkey makes some kind of agreement and gets these very wealthy people to invest back in their country, this could help stabilize the lira. But I think these elites and super wealthy prefer to keep their money offshore because it's safer. Also, many of these people made money illegally, so this may raise some red flags. So probably this won't happen, but this is also an option that can help prop up the lira. Another option is bank reserve requirements. If the central bank in Turkey increases the ratio, then banks would have to park more cash at the central bank. This would help the reserves, and this would help prop up the currency in the short term. And the last option I put in here is sell gold. Gold is very high nowadays, and Turkey has a lot of gold. So if Turkey sells some of its gold, it can easily help stabilize the lira. And I think that's what's happening today. They're selling their gold at these high prices, and they're getting dollars and help stabilize the market. Okay, so these are some of the options I put up here. I put 11 options up here. There are many more options we can talk about, but hopefully in the near future, Turkey is able to stabilize the currency. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I will talk to you later. Have a very good day.